Okay, welcome to Chapter 5, Lesson 5, the Pythagorean Theorem. Our learning target or objective for this lesson is to use the Pythagorean Theorem. How about that? Okay, our vocabulary for this lesson. First one, legs. And that's what you're standing on. No, but there's legs at sides that form the right angle of a right triangle. We'll see that here in the next slide. Once again, you can always pause the video to write down your definition, as we will continue though, as we find out our next word is hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is the side opposite of the right angle. Once again, we'll see example of that here shortly. Next one, Pythagorean theorem describes the relationship between the lengths of the legs and the hypotenuse for any right angle. And our last but not least is converse. Reverse the parts and the statement is still true. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 4 equals 2 plus 2. Either way you do it, it's still true. Okay, let's go on to our slide 2. Slide 2. Once again, our learning target is at the top. To use the Pythagorean theorem. Complete the graphic organizer, label the legs and the hypotenuse. Why don't you take a second and label the legs and the hypotenuse of this right triangle. Let's see if you got it correct. Okay, the legs. The legs would be BC. So there's a leg. And AC. There's a leg. And the hypotenuse is our diagonal. Hypotenuse. There you have it. Pythagorean theorem, they'll give you either both legs and solve for the hypotenuse, or they'll give you a hypotenuse and a leg, and you have to solve for the other leg on examples. Let's go to the next slide. Here we go, a key concept for the Pythagorean theorem. In a right triangle, the sum of the squares of the lengths of the legs is equal to the square of the length of the hypotenuse. Or if you've probably heard this before, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Or take the converse, so c squared equals a squared plus b squared. Doesn't matter how you do it, it's all the same. We're going to get into some examples here right now on slide 4. Write an equation you could use to find the length of the missing side of each right triangle, then find the missing length. Round to the nearest tenth if necessary. Okay, once again, when you get into formulas, it's easier to write down the formula that you're going to use first, and then fill in what you have. So our formula is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, once again, our a's and b's are our legs, which we have 9 and 12 inches. So 9 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. Okay, you square those both. You get 9 times 9 is 81, plus 12 times 12 is 144, equals c squared. Some of us might look familiar. This once again goes back to former lessons, chapter 2, where we had to work with squares. Okay, so now we add 144 plus 81. That gets us 225 equals c squared. Remember, we're solving for c, not c squared. So we have to get rid of that squared on the other side of the equal sign. So again, some of you might remember, you have to take the square root of both sides. Remember, the square root is a plus or minus, because underneath that square root, two negatives do equal a positive. So we take the square root of there, and that is c equals 15. It could be a plus 15 because you really can't have a negative 15 as a measurement. So it'd be 15 inches. So again, always label 15 inches for C. Okay, now we're going to look down at our next example. Once again, you can always, if you don't quite get that first example, you can always replay the video, sound it out again, see if you can figure it out. If not, always bring your questions into class the next day. Okay, You're always going to see triangles. They're always not going to be up and down like they were on the first example. Sometimes they are sideways. So you always have to figure out the hypotenuse, or C is always the diagonal. Once again, we're going to write down our formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And fill in what they give us. Well, we have an 8 for the A, so we have 8 squared plus our B is still there. What's B squared equals, our C is this time is 24, so they gave us the hypotenuse this time. 24 squared. Okay, now we're going to square what our givens. So 8 squared is 8 times 8, which is 64, plus B squared, because we don't know what that is yet. Then 24 squared is 576. Okay, once again, it looks we have an algebraic equation. We're trying to get B by itself, so we have to get rid of anything on the B side. So we have the 64, let's get rid of first. Once again, nothing in front of it, so it's a positive. So we have to do the opposite. We're going to subtract 64 from both sides. These will cancel, leaving us just the B squared equals 512. So now we're not done yet because we're looking for B, not B squared. So once again, we have to take the square root of both sides. The square root always cancels out there, so B equals, and to the nearest tenth, we're going to get 22.6, and this is meters. Okay, and that's all there really is. They're going to give you A, B, and C. They're going to give you 2 of the 3, and you just have to solve for the missing. If A, they give you the legs, A and B, just have to add those up, then square your answer on that side. Or if they give you A or B and also C, you're going to have to subtract one of your legs from the hypotenuse and square that answer to find your other leg. Okay, let's look at our last slide. The measures of 3 sides of a triangle are 5 inches, 12 inches, and 13 inches. Determine whether the triangle is a right triangle. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to plug them into our formula once again, because our formula for right triangles is Pythagorean theorem is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And always, 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 the longest measurement is going to be the diagonal, or C. So that'd be 13. So we're going to start off with 5 squared plus 12 squared equals 13 squared. Okay, in order to determine if it is a right triangle, it has to come out as a equal number here. So let's see if we got it. Do they equal each other in order to become a right triangle? 5 times 5 is 25, plus 12 times 12 is 144, equals 13 times 13, which is 169. Okay, let's add up our other side. 144 plus 25 gives us 169. So they do come out equal. So yes, that triangle with the measurements of 5, 12, and 13 is a right triangle. Okay, any questions? You may replay the video at any time to go over parts you may not understand. If still don't understand them, please write them down, the questions down, and we will go over them in a class tomorrow.